Okay guys, good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to Utah SPM Acceleration Program. Okay, so we have come to an end of our session. For the past 1 week, we have done so many subjects, cover almost every important subjects, and this is the last one. We will cover on English writing for SPM Part 2. Okay, please take note that we start at 2 and finish by 4 p.m. today. I hope you guys already taken your lunch. You should have full of energy now. Okay, and please get ready with your stationaries. Okay, we are going through together in the session. All right. Okay. For those who just joined us for the first time, please take note that in the session later, we allow you to put your question in the question box, and we will have our lecturer, our speaker, Mr. Lionel, will review your question and answer accordingly. And probably due to the limited time, we may not be able to answer all of your questions. We hope that we can cover all. Okay. All right. And I also would like to inform you that at the end of the session later, I need your favor to take part in our survey. Okay, please help me to take part in the survey. You need to put up your feedback so that you can rate us for our improvement, and you can also put your suggestion. For example, like in the next webinar, if you have anything in your mind you would like Utah to conduct, then we probably will do it for you. Okay. All right. So let me introduce myself. My name is Risman. Okay. I'm a Utah staff from Division of Program Promotion, Sungai Long campus. And with me, our speaker today. Okay, we have Mr. Lionel Keith Vityalingam. So Mr. Lionel is a lecturer from Center for Foundation Studies in Kampa campus in the Department of Arts and Social Science. So for those who had joined us yesterday, probably you have met Mr. Lionel, right? Yeah. Okay. So Mr. Lionel is actually a little bit of education background of Mr. Lionel. He's a master holder of English as a second language, MASL, from and also having a Bachelor of Arts Honors English Language and Literature Studies from USM. Okay, that's a little bit of his education background. So I don't want to waste any more time. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Lionel to take over the rest of the session. Please welcome Mr. Lionel.
Good afternoon, Mr. Risman. Thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon to all attendees. Those of you who are here for the second time, you met me yesterday, welcome back. And those of you who have joined us for the first time, thank you for joining us and welcome. I'm here today, as promised yesterday, to run through English Writing Part 2, which is going to focus on the long essay writing section of your SPM English paper 1, right? So I'm just going to start sharing my slides if you give me a moment. Right, so here we are, as my colleague Mr. Risman announced earlier, at the end stage, right? The final day of our SPM acceleration program. And we'll be ending it by focusing some attention on how we write our longer essays, right? So I take it most of you, if not all, are going to sit for the SPM, the very unique SPM upcoming next year, right? Somewhere after Chinese New Year, if things go according to plan, right? So there's going to be lots of things that you're going to be preparing for as the new year approaches, right? You're going to be working on your subjects. Your math may be requiring a lot of work, maybe your physics, maybe your accounts, right? Or any subject really. And there's a lot that you're dealing with, right? So English is one of those that can cause stress to some of us because the writing can be a frightening experience. And it's sometimes not so bad when points are given, when a frame is given and we just use the ideas that are given in the frame, right? But it becomes a lot more daunting, a lot more scary when we're just given a question with a question mark and a blank sheet of paper, however many pages we want, and then just put all our answers down, all our sentences down on the paper and call it an essay, and then hand it in to someone who's called an examiner, right? So that can be very, very stressful. That is one of the reasons why Utah and myself, that's where I teach, right? The Center for Foundation Studies at Utah. I'm just answering one of your questions, by the way. Yeah. So that is why Utah and myself have decided to put together this little project where, in terms of English, I can help you feel a little more relaxed in answering that part, the essay part, and also hopefully build your confidence a little bit starting today. And then after that, you've got another 2 months plus, right? Since your actual SPM takes place. And perhaps today we can spark off some confidence in your writing, and then that can build over the next 2 months. And at the exam time, you will be ready, right? And happy to take the English Paper 1 exam, all right? So that's my area today. I'll be speaking on English 1119/1 Paper 1 for Bahasa Inggris, yeah? And it is specified to section B today. Yesterday, I spoke about section A, which was directed writing. Today, we're going to talk about section B, which is continuous writing. I'll be taking you through my slides and a short set of activities from now till about 3:45. And from 3:45 to about 4, I will then answer questions that some of you are already providing. Now, just a reminder before I start, just to avoid confusion, right? Your questions should go into the Q&A little icon there, right? Click that icon and then type in your question there. Because if you put your question into the comment box, there's a chance it may get lost and mixed up with a lot of other things that are going on there, right? So once again, if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A box. As my colleague, Mr. Risman, mentioned earlier, because there's a bit of a lack of time today, I will try to answer all questions. But if I can't, then I will pick those that I can within the time frame. All right, guys, I hope you understand. Let's move forward. So your paper 1 for SPM Bahasa Inggris is going to be a paper lasting an hour and 45 minutes. Okay, that's all the time you have for the entire paper, the whole paper, right? But today, we are going to look at section B, the second part of paper 1, and this is known as continuous writing or extended writing. Continuous, why? Because the end product, the essay you provide us, or the essay you provide your examiners at the end of this section, is expected to be fairly long, longer than the one that you are doing for section A. All right, so very brief run through of this. The first is that you're going to be given 5 options, 5 questions, if you will. What you have to do is pick one, and that will be the essay that you develop into your final answer, right? So 5 options, choose one, always, every year, 5 questions. Now, among those 5 options, you have various styles, yeah, or essay genres, they call them, right? Genre as in the types of essays, they vary. Okay, so in the next slide, I'll be actually talking a little more on the types that we're going to look at. The unfortunate thing is, you probably already know this, but section B is not guided. There's no point, not a single point given to you, unlike section A. There's a question. Very often the question is just a statement of a topic, or it's a presentation of an idea and asking you to fill out a story, or a statement of a topic and asking you for your opinion on it, right? So it's not guided. And one thing which may cause some students to lose marks sometimes is because it's not guided, nobody's anchoring our thoughts. If we're not careful, it's very easy to get lost in our own writing, as I've put down here with the sad face. We can sometimes write till we're off topic. And we go on writing. Maybe we're having such a good time writing, or maybe we're so stressed with the date, the time taking, and we just continue without actually hooking ourselves onto the main topic that we are on. Okay, so this is a problem in many students' section B writing in their exam answers, yeah, getting off topic. We'll talk about that in a little while. The recommended word length for any of these essays, whichever you choose, 5 options, choose one. Usually the question will state in about 350 words, but it's okay to go up to around 480. Yeah, but very not encouraged. I wouldn't encourage you to write so little that you have reached less than 200, less than 300 or 320. Anything less than 300, is considered a very short essay, and there's a very high chance you're going to be missing out important information, right? So we're going to go through today the structure of how your essay should be. We're going to actually look at how to plan out a full essay. And what we're doing is we're going to aim for at least 6 paragraphs. We're going to aim for at least 5 paragraphs. If possible, 6. What I would really recommend for all of us is 6 paragraphs for an SPM continuous writing essay. But sometimes due to lack of ideas or the way you're feeling, right? Not feeling so good or having a mental block or something, then you really can't proceed with 6 paragraphs, at least 5, nothing less. Okay? It requires effort. So we're going to learn how to direct our energy towards achieving this, right? How to put in effort. Okay. Remember the 5 types of essays I was talking about, right? 5 genres, right? We're going to look at a few slides right now. Now, don't get overwhelmed by them. They're going to be filled with sentences. But these sentences, they are all past year questions. I'm going to give you an overview of 6 years, 2019 all the way back to 2014. And you're going to be seeing question after question. All right, so my target is to not overwhelm you. My target is to just give you a glance through of what your seniors have been facing in past years. Give you a kind of mental picture of if it were you in that exam hall and you were looking at these questions, how would it make you feel? Thankfully, it's not you now. Thankfully, we have 2 months to prepare, right? But it's going to be you in February. So run through a little journey with me through the last 6 years. Last year, okay, look at the 5 questions, please. I won't be reading every line out to you, all right, guys? You can look at the questions yourselves. And you see that number 1 is actually a kind of personal reflection essay. It asks you about what you consider important, what your desires are. That's what number 1 is doing. Number 2 is a kind of essay which they call discussive or argumentative. And they ask for reasons to support why you think so. Number 3, it's a story, right? Number 4, it is what we call a factual essay or expository essay. We're going to go into that in detail later. In this case, they ask you to factually compare money versus health, right? And then after that, the last one is a descriptive essay. Always a question that's present in the SPM paper 1, section B, descriptive, right? Okay, the year before that, again, look at the number 1 question. It is a descriptive one. In this case, asking you to describe a problem that you had while you were traveling, right? The second question you notice is what we call factual again. Okay, it's zoning in on the concept of time or free time or wasting time, right? It's a factual essay where you present or you go into an expository style of presenting your ideas based on facts, based on your observations. Number 3, once again, is a narrative. Narrative is another word for story. Okay. 4 is an argumentative again. We need to argue on an opinion that we state. 5, description again. It seems to be a common choice of genre. But in number 5, it's describing an event. You're going to be talking about the situation, what happened, the time frame, all those things, right? But in question 1, which is also a descriptive question, you are speaking about a problem that happened. Okay, now, even further back, 2017, right? Number 1 is what we call, as I showed you earlier in 2019, the paper, it's a self-reflective essay. You reflect on what you consider important in life, and you make these aspects of your life, your preferences, your choices, right? You make them clear to the examiner. So it's almost like you're opening a little bit of yourself to let them see, opening your heart, opening your mind. Question 2 and question 4, they are both stories. They are both narratives. Okay? The only difference seems to be the question 2 is asking you about a story that happened to you, which means you're actually talking about your life. Question 4 is actually asking about something that happened in someone else's life. The truth is, nobody's really going to know whether it's really an event from your life or whether you're imagining it. So the freedom is yours to write whatever you know, right? Question 3 is, as I said, argumentative, always present as a question. But in this case, they are talking about the Malaysian tradition of having rumah terbuka, open houses during festivals. And the last one is a description. So if you look back at 2018, there were 2 descriptive essays, number 1 and number 4. You're looking at 2017, there's only 1 descriptive essay, which is number 5, but 2017 has got 2 stories, number 2 and number 4. Now let's observe the trend. 2019, 2018, 2017, and further onward, 2016. Number 1, a story again, right? Number 2, some people think that students should actually learn, well, at least 3 languages, right? More than 1, more than 2. So again, what do you think? This is what we call an argumentative essay. They need your opinion. You need to support your opinion with reasons, good reasons, right? And then after that, in number 3 is, again, a self-reflective essay. Things that you want to achieve, things that you want to have, or fears that that may be bothering you, right, on your mind, things like that. And then number 4 is a kind of experience. In a way, it's a descriptive essay also, right? You're describing what happened when you were helping this lady called Wan Rahma, right? And number 5 is your factual essay, right? So you notice so far that there's been a little bit of a play around with the number of descriptive questions and the number of narrative questions. Self-reflective, sometimes there's no self-reflective question. It really depends on the year. But for sure, without a doubt, there's always a factual question and an argumentative question. 2015, number 1, a description. Number 2, argumentative. 2015, I don't know if it's a good thing or not. The questions seem to be worded in a shorter way than the previous years. Than the later years, right? All right, 2015, number 4, they have given you a story to write, and they start it with a phrase. Some of you have a preference for this kind of writing, right? You've been doing it since PT3, those times. And in number 5, again, it's a description, right? Descriptive essay. Finally, 2014, way back, right? Number 1 is a description, family celebration. And you're also supposed to talk about your feelings. There's a little bit of self-reflection there, your feelings, right? All right. Number 2, once again, as I say, the surefire question, guaranteed question, argumentative. Question 3 is what we call a factual question. They want reasons why something, a reason why a phenomenon is a certain way, or a reason why people do certain things, right? Factual or expository. Number 4 is a story, and number 5 goes back to a description. All right, so that is the overview part of the past 6 years of SPM Paper 1, Section B questions. All right, so you can have an idea of the genres that you're looking at. But this is my summary. There's a descriptive, definitely, and it can be asking you to describe a place, a location, a thing, your favorite object, your favorite room, the thing that you wish you could throw away. It could be all kinds of things, right? The description of an object. And then sometimes an experience, like earlier, a problem that you encountered while camping or while traveling with the family, right? Maybe they even want you to describe a bond or a relationship between people. Sometimes even one person or a group of people, describe them. Okay? The reflective one, it shows how you view your life and how you view the world around you. And they usually deal with topics like your personal growth, your maturity, experiences, how things have changed you, what you're afraid of, what you're looking forward to in the future, those kinds of things, right? Number 3, always present, sometimes even more than one question, you have stories, also known as narratives, yeah? Now this is usually a question that I've noticed, right, when I speak to many students who are about to take SPM or students who have taken and finished, This is the question with the most divided response. It's either students love this and they go into the exam hall already deciding, even before looking at the question, they've decided, no matter what, I'm going to do the narrative. And they go into the exam hall so confident that that's going to be the case. But there's the other extreme of students who completely have this cancelled out. As in, no matter what, I'm not choosing the story. Okay, a little bit of why this tends to happen. For a question that is on a story narrative, I will say this. I will say this quite confidently. Stories are hard to write. They depend on a flair, or they depend on a skill. Narrative writing or story writing involves a certain talent, involves a certain skill. What skill is that? The skill of telling a story. And telling a story, unfortunately, everybody's built differently, right? Telling a story doesn't happen the same way for everyone. You would love that it did. But in real life, if you're sitting around a campfire and you tell stories verbally, or if you're writing a story in an email or you're just typing a story through your WhatsApp and sending it to a friend, there's really no stress there, because if the person likes it, then they respond with a nice emoji. If they don't like it, they probably just ignore it, but nothing really affects you that much. But in an exam, you're actually writing a story that you know at the end of that story is going to be someone else who's looking at it with a red pen giving you marks. It's easy to start getting stressed. It's easy to look at the examiner as, oh, this reader, is he going to like my story? Is he going to dislike my story? Okay, and that is why I am saying it is not easy to write a good story. What do I mean by good story? It's not easy to write a story that would capture the reader's interest. It is not easy to write a story that will, after capturing the interest, maintain the interest until the end of the story. It is also not easy to write a story with language that perfectly represents everything that you, the storyteller, wants to say. So I will just say this, right? If you are sure at this point that you're a good storyteller, if you have a skill of telling stories, writing stories, then choose this question. Those of you who are not so sure, and many of you do this, okay, I've spoken to a lot of students. Many students go into revision books or classes, and they've memorized entire stories, and the whole story that is memorized in their mind is kept like some kind of safety net, like some preserved item in a museum. So when they go into the exam hall, they will look at the story question and somehow squeeze whatever they know into that story question, change the names, change the gender. That is probably, if you ask me, another dangerous thing to do. Okay? Because number one, it's not a natural way of writing. Number two, it actually takes away your confidence that you're producing a good piece of work. All right. So once again, a story is not an easy question to choose. I would suggest you choose it if you already know that you have good story writing skills. But today, number 4 and number 5, factual essays, expository, talking about current issues or problems, right? And argumentative, talking about current issues, but asking you whether you agree or disagree. Right, I've highlighted this in red because today, with our lack of time, and also because I am trying to give you, now with 2 months ahead only, not that much time, I'm trying to give you certain ways of feeling confident about the exam, assuming that some of you are freaking out about English. All right. So these 2 questions, in my opinion, are the most manageable types of questions. They are the most easy to plan questions. And from now to the exam, 2 months, if you start practicing on this, you will be able to get ready in time for the SPM. Factual and argumentative, these are my areas of focus today. So although continuous writing involves 5 different genres, I will be going into 2 genres only in this session. Okay. So I'm going to start with talking about the time and the marks. Later on, I will actually spend a little bit of time talking about factual writing and argumentative writing. And once again, I will not be going into stories, narrative. I will not be going into descriptive writing, and I will also not be going into reflective writing, right? Perhaps if we have a different chance in the future for a different workshop, maybe. But right now, we're focusing on As I say, in my opinion, the two most manageable and also, in my opinion, easy to score genre of questions: factual, argumentative. Right. So I'm going to show you the structure, the guide, and a little bit of samples for each factual and argumentative. And then after that, number 5, I'll take you on a short mini task where I'll be providing you with answers, right? And finally, a few guidelines for you to do well in your section B. Okay. Now let's go on. Which is the long essay. You have 1 hour for this. The 45 minutes that you have, apart from the hour, is going to be devoted to your section A. That's your directed writing. Leave that alone. Do well in it, yes, but after that, leave that alone. And then the next 60 minutes, refresh your mind, because it depends which one you do first. If you do your directed writing first, then after directed writing, you're going to be a little bit exhausted. Take a deep breath, refresh your thought pattern, realize that everything's going to be okay. You're still there with a pen in your hand. You can control what comes out on the paper. You have the ability to produce a good, well-connected, clear essay. And that's what you're going to do in continuous writing. So 60 minutes, how to spend 60 minutes on generating one essay. This is what I'm recommending for you guys. Take 5 minutes to look at the question, understand it, choose your question as well. Right, and once you've made that choice, I suggest forgetting about the other questions. If you've decided to do a factual essay on overcoming stress, preparing for exams, then zoom in onto that and let your mind just drop the others. The other 4 questions are going to be gaping, they're blinking at you on the question paper, but they are not for you already. You've made your choice. Nothing more than 5 minutes, please, guys, right? Because time is precious. After that, those 5 minutes, spend maybe a bit less also can, 10 minutes, taking a pencil or pen on that question paper itself, draw out a mind map, draw out a sketch of what your answer is going to look like. Frame your answer, not write the whole thing out yet, just write out keywords. But definitely draw it in a hierarchical order. Draw it in an order that shows where you start, where you end, things like that, right? Hierarchical order as in go in with things like, this is your intro, and this is where your main points are. And then this is your conclusion. So this is paragraph 1. This is going to be paragraph 2. This is going to be paragraph 3. This is 4. Now the numbers don't say anything, but maybe if, like, for example, I'm doing an essay on how to manage stress effectively, then I'm going to put this down. Exercising is my main point here. Paragraph 2, how to manage stress effectively. Okay, go and talk to counselors. 3 and 4. So I'm going to put my keyword here. And then after that, after each keyword, come back and perhaps put a few points, for example, examples of exercise. Okay, jogging. And then after that, maybe you can explain a little bit more, right? Blood circulation improves. This helps to combat stress. So each of them, at the end of this 10-minute frame, your question paper should have something that looks a little neater than mine. Mine is lacking space, so it looks kind of messy here. But I need you to have this on your own question paper or on your own rough paper, right? Now, after those 10 minutes, this is where you spend a great deal of time, 40 minutes, write out your answer clearly in good handwriting, please. And after that, go into your question, go into your answer again and look for errors. Once you find the errors, correct them very clearly, please. Don't leave room for the examiner to be confused, right? Now, coming back to this, how do you write out your complete answer? Just get started. You have a pen in your hand. You have a paper in front of you. You already have your mind map here, which means you have the key, you have the frame. Take your pen, start putting words out onto that question page. Start putting words out onto your answer sheet. It's not going to write itself. And I know the most difficult thing about starting an essay is starting an essay, right? Getting the pen to meet the paper for the first time is difficult. But you just get started. Take the pen, start putting down something that you know. And it's not like you're writing in the dark. It's not like you're not sure where you're going. You are sure where you're going. You have your sketch already here. All right? Okay, now what everybody wants to talk about, how are marks given? Okay, now just take a moment, guys, take a moment and look at this slide for a while. Let your mind, absorb what you're seeing, especially in the box on the right side. So, yeah, well, everybody's aiming for this. Guys, I'm aiming for this for you. I want you to, it's a very sloppy looking smiley, but yeah, it's probably so sloppy because it's an A. Sorry, he's probably so sloppy because he's happy that it's an A. Now, in this case, an A is, it's a very narrow bracket. It's 50 marks maximum, right? It's a total of 50 marks. That's what you get for that. For a continuous writing. But it's a range that's very hard to reach. It's only 44 to 50. This is how you get an A. And below that is actually your B round, and this is 38 to 43. Unfortunately, this is where many students reside. All right, so it's a C, which is a middle range, right? 32 to 37, and then it goes down to D from 26 to 31, and there are marks that exist below. I just haven't gone into that because, well, I'll be honest, I'm really hoping that every one of you today is going to aim for high grades. It doesn't matter whether you think you can achieve it or not. Aim, practice, and just give it your best shot. Right? Okay. Now, what are we looking at when we give you your marks in continuous writing? How do you end up getting 46, 48, or 50? We are going to look at how you use your grammar, which means language, your tenses, your prepositions, simple things like after the SPM exam, I am looking forward to travel around the world. Now, I am looking forward to travel actually represents a small issue with your grammar. It would actually be corrected as I'm looking forward to traveling. Now, the examiner is not going to pinpoint that as a specific grammar a problem, right? He's not going to circle every single grammar mistake. Your writing is going to be read. Section B, yeah, not section A. The continuous writing is going to be read at least 2 times. 1 time for a general impression. After that, for specific grasp on your points, on your grammar, on your vocabulary. So if you continue making mistakes like that, like for example, I'm looking forward to travel, which is a mistake, or and then the examiner notices that you do this quite often, and then there's some other issues with your tenses or the way that you match your words, they are not accurate in terms of collocation, stuff like that, then there's a problem with the grammar, right? And then we'll also look at your vocabulary. Big word, what does it really mean? It's a matter of how you use your words in the context of your essay. It doesn't have to be a very big word or a very difficult to understand word. It has to be a word that belongs in a certain situation. All right, so vocabulary is much more than just using very fancy words. Vocabulary is a lot more to do with choosing words that fit a particular situation, right? Now then, you've got sentence structure, whether or not the student shows different ways of writing sentences, sometimes long ones, sometimes short, right? Sentences that are complex, sentences that are simple, sentences that are compound, right? These are all technical items that maybe you have already learned at this point and forgotten, or maybe you still remember, right? But you can look up online. There's a lot of resources about sentence structure, right? I wouldn't worry too much about memorizing sentence structures. I would actually do what? I would spend some time finding ways to write as much as possible. Write ideas that you have into different sentence structures. For example, right now, if I'm feeling really nervous about this talk, I can write, this talk is filling me with nervousness, full stop. And then if I want to change that structure, I can come up with, I am anxious because I have a talk to run. And I can actually change that structure into something slightly different, very, very short. I'm really nervous. Stop. And start a new sentence. This talk is the cause for the feeling. Full stop. So That's what you do really. You vary your sentence structures. Sometimes you break them and put full stops between shorter sentences. Sometimes you write long sentences. Okay, so let's move on. It's also very important for the examiner to see that the student can control the topic. What do I mean by control? Don't go out of point. This is what we were talking about earlier in the first few slides. Don't lose yourself in the essay, right? If the student shows that he or she is able to control the topic, that means the entire essay focuses on that one main idea. And then in each paragraph focuses on the specific idea of the paragraph itself. Because we are doing factual writing, we're doing argumentative writing, we are not talking about stories. The way that I'm explaining these ideas to you today, guys, or the marked description that I'm, describing right now, actually refers to factual writing and argument writing. Yeah, it does not apply to stories. Okay, that actually has a different ball game altogether. So here, for factual writing, for argumentative writing, both of these genres, right, you need to have one central idea throughout the whole essay, and every paragraph within that essay has to have one small part of that central idea. And the examiner is going to, the reader, me even, we are going to want to see, is the student controlling the idea well or not? Or is the student somehow getting lost? Because if you get lost, I'll get lost. The reader will also get lost with your writing because you have not controlled your topic, right? And the next one, planning your paragraphs. Yeah, okay, make sure that the paragraphs are planned properly. And if the paragraphs are sequenced properly, with good control, with good logical flow, then there's a high chance you get 44, 45, right? Moving on, the littler items, the smaller items, but still important, your spelling. Do you make a lot of spelling mistakes? Do you make a lot of mistakes with punctuation? You know, using the comma in the wrong place, using the semicolon in the wrong place? Do you have your full stops where they're supposed to be? If you have quotation marks, do you use them? And the last one, throughout the essay, are you able to show that your perspective is engaging enough? Are you writing about something that shows you're interested? Now, the reader, as I said yesterday, and we remind you today, the reader is human. When the reader reads another human's thoughts on a paper, it is very easy to pick up on, very easy to detect whether the writer was interested in it when the writer wrote it or not. And if you are interested in something when you're writing it, it will come across to the reader. And that is what boosts this part. If you're bored and if you've just taken it from some textbook, you memorized it and just put it out there again, it's very clear that it's just a mundane, monotonous essay, right? So covered your time and marks, right? Now, yesterday I ran through this with you. Some of you came yesterday for directed writing. I'm going to run through it today in context of continuous writing. How do you elaborate? Every paragraph is controlled by a main point, but how do you elaborate? Just like yesterday, I'm going to recommend you do the XXX. You take the XXX strategy, right? And that really requires you to, this is what I'm doing, right? We're playing with these words, these prefixes. You don't have to do them all together. You can actually choose, or maybe sometimes you can pick 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3, really, it's up to you. But sometimes after stating a main point, okay, let's just put it this way. I'll show you illustratively. Okay, this is my paragraph. Okay, so this is my paragraph, and you can see that my point here is about exercising. We should exercise to reduce stress, full stop. This is actually what I'm going to call my main point. And guys, this whole paragraph, treat it as a kind of box, as a kind of container where all the elaborations you put in, all the examples, explanations, expansion, everything that you put into this paragraph must be related to exercise. You can't bring in anything that's outside. That's why I say look at the paragraph like a container, and whatever examples you use, make sure they're related to exercise. For example, if you say we should we should exercise to reduce stress, for example, badminton helps in our, badminton helps generate blood circulation because playing badminton can be considered a kind of it's an exercise that boosts our stamina. It is actually also a form of to a certain extent resistance training. To a certain extent, it focuses our mind, and this will help to to alleviate the stress. This will help to reduce the stress. So your badminton becomes an example of an exercise. But here, if you start talking about taking a trip overseas and looking at different places and watching people in different cultures behave, that can help. But that is actually not related to exercise. That is actually a point that is out of point. It's a point that shouldn't be in this paragraph. No matter how good your grammar is, the point should be outside. It doesn't belong. So basically, what we're doing is every time you have made a main point, whatever you do inside is actually known as elaboration. All of these elaborations must somehow be related to the main point. You can explain, right? You can explain the reason why something is, the reason why you're saying something. So, like for example, if you say we should exercise to reduce stress, you can explain why exercise helps reduce stress. If you have a little bit of biological perspective or a little bit of perspective on the anatomy or how the mind works, then you can explain. If maybe you're not so scientifically inclined, fine. Then maybe you can just provide examples like badminton. Or you could just expand. You can write, basically expanding is writing more sentences about the same idea. And usually it refers to the future or something that you expect to happen. Right? How do you elaborate? Now, as I usually, most students, actually all of you, right? When you go into your SPM exam hall, there is no book with you. You don't get to Google anything. So basically, you bring the world in your head. You bring your basically your knowledge, your experiences, your facts are all inside your brain, and it's either going to be used by you in the exam, or it's just going to be neglected and pretty much wasted. So think back to your own experiences. You have done reading. You've read books, novels, magazines. You've watched the news before. Even if you've not been paying attention, you are having dinner and your dad is the one who was watching the COVID-19 updates. But while having dinner, you actually heard a few things that they said. That's still considered an experience, guys. Or, you've watched some social media posts. Your friends' snaps, you've been watching their snaps, or, somebody has been sharing their WeChat moments or stuff like that. And these are all things that you've seen or witnessed, and they can help in developing your points. Think about your experiences with people, places, all that. If you have fears and issues, right? Or also things that you logically predict, things that you think can happen. Now, granted, factual essay and argumentative essay, they are not really self-reflective. That means they don't really deal a lot with you as a person. It doesn't mean you can't use your own experience. Your own experience can be used in any kind of essay. It's just that you may not use the word I, but let me talk to you about that later on. Okay, now we're going into two directions today, all right? As I told you, we're starting with factual writing. It's going to take some time running through this whole section. And then after that, we're going to go to argumentative writing, same amount of time. All right, I'm going to recommend that all of you in your essay plan, work out 6 paragraphs. You start with paragraph 1, you end with paragraph 6. Paragraph 1 is where you introduce the topic, plus minus 60 words. I really am not asking you to count the words and to be, so specific about how many words, like 60 words, then immediately stop, delete. There's really no need for that. If you exceed, then it's fine. If you get a little less, it's also okay, right? There's really no word limit, but we don't want to write too much because it leaves more ground for mistakes. It leaves more ground for the reader to get confused, right? So introduction is just 1 paragraph, nothing more. After that, para 2, para 3, para 4, and para 5, basically, will be made up of your main ideas. Paragraph 2, you put main point 1. For example, if we are talking about stress, main point 1, exercise can help to reduce stress. Main point 2, you have decided, main point 2, which is in paragraph 3, you have decided that stress can be reduced if you go and talk to a counselor, right? Go seeking counseling. Paragraph 4, which is the third main point, you say that stress can be dealt with if you plan your time well, use a proper timetable. And then 5, you have one more point on, second. 5, you have one more point on, which is your fourth main point. Stress can be combated by engaging in hobbies. Sorry that the writing is getting a little wobbly here. Yeah, it's at the end of the notepad. Okay. Wow, that writing is kind of strange. So yeah, you look at what I've actually planned out. Remember I told you to plan this out on that question paper, right? It's like a sketch, right? So now I've sketched it. I've got my first main point. No matter what, everything that goes into this paragraph will be about exercise. All the examples I use, badminton, jogging, I can put in. Traveling overseas, going for a campfire experience, I cannot put inside because they are not exercise. Then when it comes to this one, all the explanations and examples that I use, they must be related to counseling, talking to someone, opening up, sharing your emotions. Then this one, it must be related to timetable, scheduling your time, time and tight wait for no man, wasting time causes people to feel even more stressed, all of that, right? So sometimes there's a tendency for us to overlap, we tend to like put something in here, which somehow was actually in here as well. I'll give you an example. Here, let's say we spoke about badminton. We said that badminton is a good method of combating stress because it boosts cardio activity and it helps blood circulation. So this engages the body to combat stress, right? Then on the other hand, here, when you talk about planning your time, then you start saying planning time requires us to have a time frame for different activities. Our studies should be fitted into a specific time and our hobbies into a different time. For example, badminton. If we plan time for badminton, badminton can actually help to reduce our stress by boosting our cardio. Now, when that happens, you're actually repeating yourself. Don't do that. I see what you're doing. You use badminton here as a kind of hobby, not really related to exercise. But still, if you have to, don't. And also, if you are going to talk about hobbies, make sure they don't overlap because they are here. So that's actually a very important thing for you to be aware of. Every time you write a paragraph, make sure nothing in a paragraph overlaps with other paragraphs. Every paragraph must be treated like a kind of container. Whatever you put in one container is not to be mixed with whatever is in another container. And the last paragraph is the closing or the conclusion. All right, guys, if you're ready, we're going into details now. This is the introduction. In a factual essay, you're going to provide what you know. You're going to share knowledge about a certain topic, a current issue, a phenomenon that's taking place in society, right? Factual writing. The introduction has to be brief. Don't overdo it, right? All of this, let's forget about all this. You write, the words that you use are precious, you don't have that much time to write everything out. And your introduction also can't be that long. But you're going to write, nowadays many people face stress. Let's think about it. Is there really much value in a sentence like this? The examiner knows this. The examiner already agrees. The examiner has seen this. It's redundant, guys. It's not something that adds any value to your writing. So how about, it's not wrong. Okay, it's fine. He wouldn't give it to you as wrong, but it hasn't achieved much value. How about, very simply, don't need to memorize these kind of phrases, or let's just put it out here. In this era of globalization, in this world of modernization, there's nothing wrong with them. And I know that Very often it helps you feel that, wow, these are good phrases to use. Memorizing them will earn me my marks. I can guarantee you they add no value to your introduction because you and everybody else is using them. Right? You and everybody else are using them. You don't want to put in things that are cliche and redundant. So how about forgetting about all these kind of things? Brief. You've got to be brief, but say, put in things that are meaningful. Let's say I'm talking about stress. Okay? Just go in straight. I can tell you with full certainty, a student who writes this as the first line in the essay is going to receive greater, he's going to achieve a more satisfied response from the examiner as compared to this. I'm not saying that this is wrong. Nowadays, even worse nowadays, right? Yeah, whatever. All of this, the examiner has seen, I can tell you, guaranteed. Has seen again and again and again. They don't need to keep seeing it. And you don't need to memorize those phrases just because you think they're good. You just need to put down something that you already, that your mind has, while reading the question or while writing the introduction, your mind comes up with this idea. Put it down. Stress can cause harm if it is unchecked, right? It's very much more effective. And that's what I mean by being brief. Okay, so this is my first sentence. Then I want to go on to defining keywords. Now, it's not for all topics, yeah. For certain topics, like if they talk about what are the best ways to maintain your friendship, now then there's really no need to define the word maintain or define the word friendship. If you want, it's okay, but if not, then you can do other things. But certain, especially for current issues, things like stress or things like cyberbullying or cheating in examinations, these may be things you want to define. So just go with what you know. Stress refers to the body's reaction to tasks that seem difficult, or the body's reaction to tasks that seem overwhelming. Now, granted, this is not the best definition. Somebody else can tell you, hey, wait, hang on, that's not the full definition of stress. But so what? You've shown the examiner that you put in an effort to describe it in the way that you know, to define it in the way that you know. And although there are various definitions to stress, and stress doesn't necessarily have to be about tasks, this will be fine because it does relate to the topic. And then after that, if you still have time, remember not too long, you can write about what you have seen in the media or what you've seen in social media, news and stuff like that. And then finally, in the last sentence of the introduction, this is essential. The last sentence of the introduction, you have to use a sentence that says, in this essay, blah, 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 blah. Or this essay will present 4 ways of reducing stress, full stop. Or in this essay, 4 ways of reducing stress will be presented. Something like this. This is what we call the direction of your essay. Many students do not do this. It will help the examiner to see your essay as much, to see that you're a writer with clarity, that you're putting an effort to make the ideas clear. So it's good to start the essay right at the bottom of the introduction, put in this, right? So if this is your introduction paragraph, guys, sorry, I'm using all this space, right? Here, I'm just going to define, then after that, maybe talk about the media, something like that. Then here, straight away, the last sentence. This essay will talk about 4 ways how we can deal with the problem of stress. Full stop. Introduction done. Finish it. Right? Example. We're not talking about stress now. We're talking about teenage bullying. Now, in this case, I haven't defined teenage bullying. I have just talked about the problem. Right? A lot more effective compared to nowadays, many people read stories about teenage bullying. Doesn't add much value, does it? Better to say something like this. Actually, here is a short sentence. The problem of teenage bullying is not one that is small. We shouldn't take it lightly. Then after that, here is what I mean by talking about the seriousness of teenage bullying. Then here, you actually bring up the media a little bit. This is, as I said, the essay that gives the direction of your introduction. This essay will present 2 reasons why bullying happens and 2 steps that can be taken to solve this problem. So you're actually showing the examiner where you're going already, you know. The examiner is going to see that paragraph after the intro, then paragraph 2 and paragraph 3, like just now the frame I drew for you, right? The blue boxes. Paragraph 2 and paragraph 3 will actually be reason 1 and reason 2. Then paragraph 4 and paragraph 5 is going to be reason, paragraph 4 and paragraph 5 is going to be steps, step 1 and step 2. And this is a very good way to orient the examiner, to show the examiner the direction that you're going to take her or him on, right? Now, guys, let's talk about main point number 1. Okay, the first sentence of the body. This, hold on a second, if I may. Okay, guys, this whole part is actually referred to as the body of the essay. This is where your main points are. This is the intro. This is the intro. This is the closing. But this is the body. Okay. So remember, main point 1, main point 2, main point 3, and main point 4. So in each body paragraph, the first sentence, you have to, please do this. Make sure that the first sentence actually states that main point. If you're trying to talk about bullying happening because parents don't pay attention to their children, state that bullying happens because children lack attention from their parents. Full stop. Make that clear. Don't let the reader guess what's your main point. State it right at the start of the paragraph already. So this is your paragraph, right? First, bullying happens because parents do not pay enough attention to their children. Stop. I'm satisfied. As an examiner, I'm satisfied already. The student has shown me where the main point is. Done. Then after that, all the sentences will be actually elaborations of lacking attention. Okay, remember your E, and E. Use what you know, what the news reports have shown you, right? Now, this is another note that I would like you to take note of. For example, if your mind is blank, you can't recall the news. You can't think of any ideas of things that you've seen before. Then, okay, don't freak out. Then use your own life experiences. There are things that have happened to you before. For example, if I'm writing an essay about bullying, but I'm trying to think now, what news article did, excuse me, what news articles have I read about bullying? Did I see any statistics or not? What did the education minister say about school bullying? Nothing is coming to my mind. Am I going to freak out? Yes, I am freaking out a bit, but there's another backup plan. I'm going to ask myself, Lionel, have you actually experienced anything to do with bullying? Do you remember the time when you were in Standard 3, when the Standard 6 boy came and actually extorted money from you and said things like that? How did you end up feeling? Now, that's a very personal experience, guys, and I'm sure that that is going to be something you can write about. But do something for me, okay? Try not to get too personal. Try not to use, even though you're writing about something personal, you're going to use it in an essay that's factual, you know. So a factual essay usually doesn't go so much into your own life. That's a different essay. That's a reflective essay, right? So remember, I'm not writing a story, you know, so I'm not going to say when I was in Standard 6, a senior bullied me and took my money away. I won't. I will actually say something like this, okay? I'm just going to give you an example. Right, guys, you know what's happened here? Huh? Lionel's personal experience, Lionel's private memory of what happened in my childhood is going to generate an elaborative point. But I'm not going to say I don't want the examiner to know that I'm talking about myself. I want it to seem like it's something that happens, and it does happen. Because whatever happened to you, most of the time, it actually reflects something that takes place in the community. All right, to a certain extent, on a general scale. So Lionel's personal story has now been presented as a factual elaboration. You get it or not? So that's what I mean by you can use your own experience, you can use your own logic, but convert it into something that seems larger than you, right? I hope that you're getting this. Okay. Now, moving on, this is an example I prepared for you for main point 1. First and foremost, this is our connector, okay? Bullying is caused by the need for attention. Remember I told you the first sentence must state your first point? Main point 1, settled. That means everything else, all of this, they are all elaborations. When a teenager is raised in a house where parents are working or they're absent for whatever reason, then maybe the teenager will have a lack of attention. Okay, what you're doing now is you're starting to expand. That means you're writing more about a specific idea. The specific idea is parents don't give enough attention to kids. I'm expanding. Yeah, why? Because they're working. So that's an explanation, right? I explain why parents are not spending enough time for their kids. And then here I'm expanding. This actually leads to the effect of them feeling like their attention is not enough. And then expand some more. They become frustrated. Okay, which may cause them to act out. You see, this is really expand after expand after expand. That means you picture yourself like riding a bike and you're moving a little further with each sentence. You're cycling a little further with each sentence to give your reader a little more information. Then here I decide I want to use example already. For example, a person who humiliates, a person who makes another person feel very small, right? If you humiliate another person by calling them, words that are negative, right, degrading or derogatory terms, then it may be very satisfactory for them because they already feel that they have no attention at home. But when they get someone to feel upset, when they bully someone, they feel like, yeah, I got my attention already. Everybody's now looking at me as someone who has control over another person's feeling. Right? So main point 1 done. Notice guys, everything in this paragraph is only related to attention. Even the parents working too hard or stuff like that, it's still brought back down to the attention of the teenager. The lack of attention of the teenager, right? Okay, the second main point, similar. This one I'll move a little faster, okay? Second main point, which means paragraph 3. Again, first sentence, you have to state the main point clearly. And then all the other sentences, the same. Follow the same formula. Remember, every paragraph, every body paragraph is the container, and the first sentence is the container's cover. When you do writing later on, when you go to college and all, there are different specific terms for this, right? The college will tell you, college teachers will tell you this is called the topic sentence, and these are called something else, right? But basically, I'm just getting you to remember it in, well, more attractive ways. The container has a cover, and the cover is your first sentence. And inside the container, you have all your contents, which is basically all the elaborations, and they must be related to the same container, right? So an example of this one. Another factor is past experience of being bullied. Okay, now expanding. This is an expansion. Two sides to a coin, two sides to bullying. Either you get bullied, all right, the bully physically attacks the victim or verbally, and the bully will actually be feeling very strong at the end, and the victim will end up feeling the opposite of strong, weak or shameful. So then, expand some more. The feeling of shame in the victim may be so overwhelming that it leads to aggressive behavior. which means you're expanding again, talking about the effects. Then expand some more. The victim finds other victims because he wants to make them feel weaker. Right? So if you look at this one, there's actually no example in this paragraph. That's fine. Okay? But you use a lot of expansion. The next paragraph is the third main point. I'm going to move a little faster, okay? Because it's exactly the same treatment. But I want to show you the example instead. Here's the sample. The third factor. Okay? When a problem has been identified, the problem must be solved. And in the case of teenage bullying, hang on. Just now, sorry, there were two causes. Yeah, I lost track. There were two causes, and then later we want two ways of solving, right? Right. So two causes done already. And that's why here I started with this. Right? This is my way of showing the reader that I'm going into a different direction. I'm going to the direction of two ways already now. I'm not still sticking to causes, which means that, guys, it would be a mistake to use this word here, third or moreover. If I use this kind of connector for this paragraph, it would actually be a mistake. Why? Because this is not the third way. Sorry, it is not the third cause. This is the first way. You get what I mean? Your essay is moving into a different direction. Okay, right? So now, one effective method, or you can even write the first effective method. Nothing is wrong with that because this is the first method. The first way of solving the problem is by using stricter punishments in schools. Then you elaborate. Many schools have clear rules against bullying, but sadly, the truth is bullying tends to continue because not enough enforcement. You're actually explaining. Bullies must be dealt with severely by punishments such as suspension. Example. Engaging the parents or the police. Right? This not only serves as a lesson to the bullies to stop engaging in the wrongful behavior, but it also deters other students from bullying. So yeah, right? The method has been specified. And then factual writing main point 4. Okay? The same thing. But this time I'm going into the next way. Right? So here is my connector apart from that. Or I can even do this. The second way to curb bullying is blah, 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 right? Parents should pay closer attention to their children. Then you start to expand. Victims of bullying often keep their issue, their problem, hidden away from the family. Why? Because they're feeling shame, right? Now, they don't want to be viewed by the family as weak. And on the other hand, the bullies also don't want to tell the family that they are aggressive towards other people because they also don't want their family to look at them in a negative way. But in both the situations, whether you're a bully or you're a victim, if the parents are more active in taking care of the children, if the parents take time to discuss emotions and stuff like that with the children, then there's a chance that they can actually stop bullying from happening. There's a chance that they can reduce the cases of bullying, the likelihood of bullying, right? So what I've given you so far are 4 main points already. 2 main points as to why bullying happens, and 2 main points about the ways of solving. Right? It depends on the question, right? Whatever the question wants. And then the conclusion will be, as I said, the 6th paragraph. Again, be brief, maybe provide a summary of the main idea just now, but it doesn't have to be a summary that is touching on all the main points. Just 1 or 2 sentences that bring everything together. And if you want, you can actually talk about maybe the future, talk about something positive that you hope will happen. Very short. I would encourage all of you, right, to keep your conclusions short. Don't overdo it. The conclusion should be like 40 words enough for you. Look at this. In short, or to put it in a nutshell, bullying can be traced back to the lack of attention and need for revenge. I'm summarizing my 2 causes. But then, if authorities and parents increase their effort, then they can actually end this problem. And then the future, our teenagers may feel safer with their friends. So this is what I mean by like maybe talk about a future that you are anticipating, right? I hope you guys are okay, right? Not too overwhelmed. And now, take a deep breath. Okay? give you a moment to collect your thoughts. Basically, you know what, guys? Give me a sec. Just before I move on to argumentative, yeah, just before that, I'm going to take you back to this one. Basically, I want you to remember this slide. I'm going to need you to create 6 paragraphs in your SPM continuous writing. This is a factual essay. You are presenting information on a certain social issue or a circumstance, right? Or a phenomenon. Like in this case, just now we were talking about the phenomenon of bullying, right? So the question will actually give you what you need. I mean, the question will give you the direction. Some questions will say, what are some ways, what are some reasons why bullying happens among young people and how can it be solved? Question mark. Then you know already, it's up to you to divide the points. I would just go with 2 reasons for bullying and 2 ways of solving. That's why just now my introduction, I made it clear. 2 ways and 2 reasons, right? But as I say, try your best to develop 6 paragraphs. If you really cannot and you're stuck, fine, all right, fine. If really cannot, then okay, then this one you don't do. You just remove one of this. So then in the end, you'll have 3 body paragraphs, you have 1, 2, 3. I would love it if you can have 4, but if cannot, then okay, fine, 3. But make sure you have an intro on top. Make sure you have a conclusion. Otherwise, your essay is incomplete. All right? Factual writing. Okay. Now I'm going to move you on into the second genre for today, which is argumentative writing. Once again, I'm going to recommend that you boys and girls use a frame of 6 paragraphs. First paragraph, introduction, mention your stand. Now, what is a stand? A stand is your opinion on the motion in the question, your opinion on what the question has raised. For example, do you think that mobile phones should be allowed in high schools? Your stand is yes, mobile phones should be allowed, and that's your stand. Hold your stand and mention your stand at the last sentence of the first paragraph. Remember earlier when we were doing factual writing, we had the last sentence of the intro. We used it as a sentence to state the direction of my essay, to say that in this essay, I will present 2 reasons why bullying happens and 2 ways of solving it. Remember? In this case, for argumentative writing, you won't really do that, but in the last sentence, I'm just going to say, I agree or I disagree, or I think should or I think should not. Make it clear in the introduction, right? So once you have stated your stand in the intro, then again, a little similar to factual writing, right? You're going to provide 4 body paragraphs. Hopefully 4, if really cannot, then fine, 3. Nothing less, please. 4 paragraphs, do what? All right, I'll just give you an example. Mobile phones should be allowed in high schools. I have made my stand clear. This is my introduction. In my introduction paragraph, above there, there's, I define the topic and everything. Later we'll talk about it, right? But then you have your main points. And every main point must provide one reason. The first one, the second one, third one, the fourth one. Each of them provides a reason why you think mobile phones should be allowed. Do you get it? So the first reason mobile phones should be allowed because they are an avenue to gain knowledge. Mobile phones help teenagers to learn. Then you go and describe, talk about Google, talk about Wikipedia. YouTube actually has a lot of instructional videos, all that relating to mobile phone and learning. So that will be the reason. You think mobile phones shouldn't be banned because they help people learn. The next one, mobile phones shouldn't be banned. The mobile phones should be allowed because it allows students to get help in cases of emergencies, in cases of kidnapping, in cases where they are hurt, in cases where an accident has taken place. Talk about emergencies. So your second reason to say that phone shouldn't be banned is because emergencies can happen. Your first one was because they need to do research and gain knowledge by using mobile phones. The third one is in high school, students are mature enough to exercise self-control. Students are able to exercise self-control and not get distracted in class, right? So people think high school students are going to be all distracted, they won't pay attention, they'll be chatting all the time, but you are saying here that they already have gained a sense of maturity in your main point 3. And then main point 4, mobile phones should be allowed in class because it is a way for teachers to make lessons more interesting. Teachers can actually ask the students to install apps, and they can actually answer questions in quizzes. For example, they can use programs like quizzes, right? Online quizzes that can engage the students and make them more interested in the lesson. So yeah, here, first one just now, first reason, because it helps students gain knowledge when they do research. Second reason, emergency, they can contact people. Third reason, high school students are mature enough to control how they spend their time. And the fourth reason is it can enhance the learning experience. Teachers can use them to make students more interested in class. Right, those are my 4 reasons why I think we shouldn't take away mobile phone from high school students. Right, and then at the end, I need to conclude. But in my conclusion, it's quite simple actually. Just mention my stand one more time in different words, like restate my stand. Okay, introduction. Very similar to earlier, I need you to be brief. Use a definition for the keywords, whatever you've seen in the media. Now, in one sentence, you have to state your stand. Like, as I said earlier, mobile phone. Okay, now let's forget about mobile phones. Let's talk about this is my stand. The last sentence of my introduction. Remember again, guys, introduction, paragraph, sentence, right? Blah, 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 blah. This is my definition and what I know from the media. This is my last sentence, just down here. Example, school holidays in Malaysia should be reduced. Do you agree? I don't agree. So I don't agree. Where do I say it? I say it here. This is my stand. This is my introduction, what I have seen, what I know. Okay, even this, many students look forward to the holidays. It is a kind of motivation, kind of incentive for them to continue working hard. It's my own experience. It's me as Lionel, the little student in high school. I used to use holidays like, yeah, holidays are coming. I don't care. I'll continue studying hard because holidays are around the corner. But in this sentence, I'm not going to say I used to love holidays. I actually bring it out into something more general, right? So that's your intro. Then, as I said, you need 4 reasons to support your intro. And please hear me out. All the 4 main points must support your stand. Take one stand. Do not let it be sitting on the fence. Do not take a neutral stand. I know that there are different ways to answer an argumentative essay. I'm trying to recommend the least confusing way for you all. So all 4 main points, let them match your stand. I know that there are those of you who write the benefit of having mobile phones in school, the benefit of having mobile phones in school. Then, oops, mobile phones are dangerous. Oops, mobile phones can actually lead to distraction. Then in the end, you're going to tell the reader that it is up to each individual to choose whatever they want. Now, try not to do this in your argumentative essays. I'm recommending that you boys and girls take one stand and do not leave it open in the end. Pick your stand and stick to it. So if you're going to say mobile phones are good, do that. Good, 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 good. And in the end, still, mobile phones are good, right? So, okay. This is like what we're doing in factual essays. The first sentence has to state your first point, your first reason. Example, yeah? To begin with, one problem that would happen if we shorten the school holidays is our students won't have enough time to take part in non-academic activities. My first reason for my stand. Then all of the rest of the paragraph will elaborate why students need non-academic activities. So during the school term, students have like 6 hours a day in school, and then they have to go for tuition and they have to do their homework and all. And students are not able to take part in their hobbies and to build their character. Okay, then you give examples, right? Examples. They won't actually be able to go for camps. And in camps, they can learn survival and leadership skills. These are all examples. They won't be able to go for youth group meetings. And when they go for youth group meetings, they can learn discipline and teamwork and all that. So all of these are examples. Okay, apart from the examples, before that, you actually have expansions. Then the next main point. Again, I'm going straight to the example, all right, guys? Second main point. Second reason why my stand is correct. Because I think reducing holidays is not positive, it will increase stress in students. So this whole paragraph is to say that students have a lot of stress because they have a lot of difficult schedules to follow. Then here you are actually explaining. You say that students have a lot of heavy schedules, right? I'm explaining why I say it, because they got classes to attend, they got homework. After that, they have to do their exams and they have to get good results. And this is the reason I'm explaining why I say students are stressed. And then the holiday actually gives them, the holidays give them a chance to relax and get better. All right, relax and get better from all the stress. Right, then you need a third reason why you're using your stand. Third reason, okay, once again, the first sentence must state the reason, after that, elaborate. It looks like this. Moreover, the third reason, if holidays are reduced, then the family relationship may start to suffer, right? Give me a sec. Sorry, my dog's just having some nightmares. Very weird. All right. So in this case, negative impact on family relationships, yeah? So this is the third reason why I think holidays shouldn't be shortened. Then you go on with examples, trips, family activities during school holidays. Okay? Then more example, seaside towns, museums and all this. And you explain why these must be maintained. Because these kind of experiences give the family a chance to spend time together, they can bond, they can do fun things together, they can also talk to each other. All right, so this whole paragraph says that if holidays are reduced, then the dangerous thing is family relationships may start to dwindle, may start to falter. All right. Okay, moving on. Fourth reason is, okay, students may not have a positive attitude because the holiday is shorter. They go like, oh, I don't want to go to school. I don't like school. You know, a negative attitude may be formed when you take away their motivation. So in this paragraph, I'm talking about that. If you look at it, the same thing happens. The first line mentions the reason why my stand is like that, and then later I elaborate why the reason is. Okay, excuse me. And then the conclusion, I need you to be brief and restate your stand. Restate your stand. Reiterate, right? Reiterate, to restate, to recapitulate, to recap, to reiterate. School holidays should not be shortened because it has negative implications. Okay, and then this is, remember I said you can talk about the future? Yeah. If you want a future where we have balanced, minded, and healthy individuals, right? Mentally healthy, then we can achieve this by maintaining the holidays as what they are, and it's not shortening them. Right, guys? I've actually given you a lot of detail as well as some examples as to how you can you can actually plan a factual essay frame and how you can plan an argumentative essay frame and turn the frame into a full-fledged essay. Okay? Now, for the next around 20 minutes, we're actually going to go on into the mini tasks. For those of you who attended yesterday, I'm quite sure you're looking forward to this. I promised you we will give you some tasks that's going to boost your sentence building skills. All right, so I'm going to show you a few sentences that we are all going to try to work on together. Now, because this is a large group of you and because of a lack of time, I would love to do this in an interactive way to get your answers and tell you whether your answer is correct or wrong. But unfortunately, we won't get to do that today. But I want you to still look at those questions, and when I'm answering them, look at how I'm providing the answers to you. And you'll be able to use them as references later on as well. Okay, so these mini tasks are going to show you how you can prepare sentences for different situations. Argumentative essays, factual essays, they will all be kind of planted around the same theme. Usually it's social issues or current events, current situations that are taking place in society or in the community. So we're going to deal with sentence building about certain current issues, right? Now, let me start sharing the task with you. Right? You're looking at a work task or you're looking at a mini task. Okay, so I have actually got a few questions here. We're going to try them together, right? Okay. Now, very often when we're writing factual essays and also when we're writing argumentative essays, excuse me, we need to talk about why things happen. A phenomenon that takes place, right? For example, we spoke about a few. Yesterday, we spoke about students arriving late for school. That's a phenomenon. Today, we spoke about bullying. That's another phenomenon. And then you have other phenomena that pop into your mind. For example, the increase in road accidents during festive seasons, or some people choosing not to wear masks during COVID SOPs. These are phenomenon. These are phenomena that take place, right? And when we're dealing with phenomena, we need to talk about the reasons why they happen, and also what can happen in the future if the phenomenon doesn't stop. So these are what we call causes and effects, right? So suffice to say, when you have something taking place, phenomenon X, it could be something that is good, it makes people happy. It could be something that is dangerous, something that brings, harm to people. Phenomena don't exist in a vacuum. Phenomena are always caused by certain elements. And if the phenomena aren't solved, or we don't put an end to, for example, students coming late, or put an end to bullying, then it can lead to effects. It can lead to things that happen in future, right? So today, for a while, we are going to talk about first the causes. Later on, we're going to talk about the effects, right? Okay, now, the target of this exercise is to show you that there are different ways to say the same thing. Just like yesterday, we tried a few. Yesterday, we spoke about writing suggestions, how we provide suggestions towards an issue or towards a crisis or towards any kind of phenomena. All right, but today we're going to talk about the reasons why. A reason is a similar thing to a cause. Okay, let's look at this sentence, yeah? Lack of preparation is one reason why some students perform poorly in school. Lack of preparation is one reason why some students perform poorly in school. I want to rewrite this sentence using all of these other phrases. Instead of using the word reason, instead of using the word cause, I want to use because of. How do I do it? Okay, so some students show subpar performance. That means they don't do well. Subpar is poor, below average, right? Some students show below average performance in school because of, here we bring in lack of preparation. Okay, and this is your answer. All right, because of a lack of preparation or because of lack of preparation. In other words, Here, in the original sentence, you talk about changing sentence structures, as I mentioned earlier, right? It's what you want to do if you want to earn good marks. This is a change in sentence structure. Initially, lack of preparation was in the front. Now, lack of preparation has been placed behind. Let's move on. Some students show subpar performance in school due to, right? In this case, lucky for us, the answer is exactly the same as the above. You see what's happening, guys? Right, sorry. You see what's happening here is in the first answer and the second answer, the endings are exactly the same. But the sentences are not the same. The sentences have used different methods of talking about the causes. Here we've used the word because, and we link it with the preposition of. Here we use the word due, and we link it to the preposition to. So because of and due to, they have very similar function, but the beauty is they are different words. They are different phrases. And even further, we have another phrase that has the exact same effect as because of. Another phrase that has the exact same effect as due to. And that is on account of. Right, so that means all these three actually have very similar way of writing, but as I say, the beauty is they have different phrases used. Because of, due to, on account of. Right? Okay. The next one is where we try to be a bit more ambitious. We move to something further. Don't want to use the word because or due or account anymore already. Now I want to use something out of the ordinary, link. Okay, fine. There is a link between. Now, you know when you use the word between, there's going to be X and Y. Basically, it's going to be like that. Right? There's a link between Ipoh and Kuala Kangsar. There's a link between you and me. There's a link between X and Y. So in this case, my answer, you go back to the original question, right? You want to make sure the meaning doesn't change. So there is a link between students perform poorly in school. X is like Kuala Kangsar. There's a link between Kuala Kangsar and Ipoh. There's a link between you and me. I need my X to be a noun. I cannot let my X become a verb. This is a verb. So what I'm going to do is a kind of big change needs to happen, guys. It's going to look like this. Students poor performance in school. So now, this is actually what I call a noun phrase. This group of words, I lump them together. They are used, but they are controlled by one important word. The important word is performance. So this is what we call a noun phrase. There's a link between students' poor performance in school and lack of preparation. Yeah, okay, so that's the other noun. So once again, in this set of questions, what is the phenomenon that I'm talking about? I'm talking about students not doing well in school, right? So that's it. The last one, we want to use another phrase. The phrase is trace back. So students' poor performance in school can be traced back to there you go. Right. You guys may be wondering, what is Mr. Lionel doing? We're doing the same thing over and over again. Guys, once again, the word here is the beauty. The beauty of what we're doing is we are forcing ourselves to vary our sentence structure. We are using different methods to achieve the same impact. What's the impact? The impact is this. You're trying to say that students don't do well because they don't prepare well. But you have found various ways to say the same thing. Okay, so for those of you yesterday who asked, Mr. Lionel, how to use the cause of something in other phrases and words, I've just given you a few, okay? Now, moving on, the effects of something, right? And now we're not talking about performance in school, we're talking about co-curricular activities already. Co-curricular activities can develop a student's communication skills. I want to restate this in 4 different ways. And I want to use the phrase lead to, bring about, has effect on. The last one is slightly different. So let's start. Co-curricular activities can lead to, look at this, students' communication skills. I can't just put that down here. It wouldn't make sense. Okay, sorry. Hold on. I can't just put that here, guys. It doesn't make sense. You know, I can't just stick something from the front and put it in the back and think that it will be fine. I have to operate on a proper grammar form also, right? And also the logic must be there. So look at this sentence. Co-curricular activities can lead to students' communication skills. What? You're not saying anything about the skills. So, can lead to improvement. This is what the answer is going to be, right? Okay, the next one. Co-curricular activities can bring about, it's the same thing, lead to, bring about. Okay, right? The reason why all of these answers, the reason why the behind of these questions, right? The behind is in this one. The reason why they are the same is because we are actually using prepositions. This is a preposition to. This is another preposition. So this is actually a prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase, right? Okay, next one. Co-curricular activities. I'm going to correct myself. It's a plural have. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so co-curricular activities. It's always a tongue twister for me, this word, for some reason. Co-curricular activities have a positive effect on. Now, here, right, I actually have the word positive already, which already implies that there's an improvement. So in this case, I don't have to use improve anymore. Here, I can use students' communication skills, and it will make sense. Okay, let me show you what I mean when you read it, okay? Notice, it is actually the same as improve, because positive effect actually shows that it's improving already. And here is the same thing. All right, so students' communication skills are likely, are likely to improve. Then you continue with if they take part in or engage. Right? Okay. So that's the answer for effects. And just to note, the questions that we just tried, right, they were all talking about positive effects. I also want you boys and girls to learn about negative effects. And usually this is a negative phenomenon as well, like cyberbullying. Earlier was co-curricular activities, and that's usually something positive, right? Now, cyberbullying. One effect of cyberbullying is low self-confidence in victims. So, another word for effect is consequence. One consequence of, it's the same. The ending will be the same because you're using a preposition of. That's the answer, right, guys? Next one. Low self-esteem in victims, now this is where it becomes a little harder, can be a result of. Next one. Low self-esteem in victims can result from. Right? Please notice that they are different. This phrase, you know what? Let me just highlight it in a different color for you. Yeah. This phrase and this phrase, they are formed differently. The first one is can be a result of. The word result here is used as a noun. Here, the word result is used as a verb, but the ending remains the same. Result of cyberbullying. right? And here, it's actually the same. Okay, we're going to move on now with another word, the last word to show the effect. Cyberbullying can bring something about, right? Can trigger. Here, you would say, so what do you have? You have 4 different ways of saying something is an effect of something else. Here, you have 4 different ways to show that a positive effect can happen because of co-curricular activities. Right? Okay. Now, I want you to look at this. You're going to try to show that you do not like something. And they're all the sentences that are related to online bad guys. Bad guys is such a casual word. We call them predators. The practice of sharing intimate pictures online to embarrass people. I want to use the word unacceptable. I want to use the word unacceptable to show that I don't like this behavior. I don't agree with it. So this is actually quite an easy one. Is unacceptable. Right? This one has been done. All right. How about another one? Online scammers, atrocious. Atrocious is a word to describe something that is terrible, something that is almost disgusting. Online scammers are people who use the internet or use social media platforms to cheat other people of their money, or to, post using different identities, or to get people to love them because they want something in return, right? So online scammers are atrocious if you want to make it a short sentence. Or you want to expand it, online scammers are atrocious because they target innocent users. Right? This is just an example of an answer. This is what I was trying to get you to do. Next one. I'm trying to show that I don't agree with something, but now I want to use the word tolerated. So sexual predators, yeah, those bad guys who actually have sexual intentions, they use social networking sites as a way to lure, as a way to take their victims, to attract their victims. Okay, how are you going to use this with the word tolerated? Basically, should not be tolerated. Or if you want to try the word that one of the phrases we learned yesterday, you want to write should, ought not to be tolerated. Okay, now the next one. I'm trying to show you that cyberbullying is something we should not allow. Everybody should fight against it. So as concerned citizens, we don't want to use the word should, so need to be up in arms against. Right? These are phrases to show that you do not want something to take place. You are not okay with it happening. And finally, here, you don't agree with people posting sexually incriminating, sexually provocative, something that shouldn't be posted online, right? Okay, so what? How do you use the word foolish? Basically, you're judging it, and it's okay to judge something because you do not agree that it's done. Oops. Okay, it is foolish for two. Okay, so you have that, and let's try COVID-19 using this phrase. The increase in cases of COVID-19 ought not to be treated lightly. Right? The phrase treated lightly is the one that we want to use. Let's move on to the next one, still related to COVID-19. I want to use the word neglected. So let's try. People who live in poor condition They don't have enough knowledge about health, which means that their safety is being neglected. Right? Okay, another sentence about COVID-19. This one, we want to show that it is not something to take lightly, something that is shocking. So alarming, we can start with, it is alarming to see new clusters of COVID-19 infections everywhere. Last one, worrying. So you've got words like alarming, worrying that help to show that you're concerned about a certain issue. There's a tendency for some people to ignore the standard operating procedures, which is what you call SOPs, that are meant to protect us against infection, which is worrying. This behavior is worrying. Okay, got one more, sorry. The simple act of not wearing a face mask while we are out in public can, right, guys? Detrimental means dangerous. Be dangerous, right? So be detrimental to our lives, detrimental to our health, detrimental to us, full stop, also can. All right? Okay. Now we're going back into our slides to finish up. So hang on. Okay. Just before I leave, just before I open up for questions and answers, I'm just going to remind you a few more steps like yesterday I spoke about, today again. One way that you can produce a good answer is go into the exam hall. Don't forget, the examiner is just a human person. He's a human being. He's a reader who has interest to know your thoughts. There are question marks in the examiner's mind, and they want you to help to fill out the answers to those question marks. Yes, they have a red pen, but they are not using the red pen just to judge you or to, come up against you with low marks. They are genuinely ready to receive information that you give them. So put in good information into the essay. Arrange your information well. Once again, your target is not to impress the examiner, not to show the examiner that, hey, I'm the best writer in the world. You don't need to do that. Examiner may be the best writer herself, but it doesn't change the fact that she's ready and willing to look at what you are writing for her. Every new answer sheet that they look at is a new opportunity for them to read someone else's thoughts. So relax and just share what you know, right? Also remember that you just want to make it clear. You want to make your writing well arranged. You want it to be direct and straightforward. Don't worry so much about bombastic words. Just be clear and be clean. Clean in the sense that use good grammar. Write in good handwriting. Don't use things that the examiner can't be able to see through. Also, in terms of your writing style, remember to use different sentence structures. We just practiced a few tasks on that, right? Okay, be careful of your tenses and use connectors to show the examiner the direction of your essay. Your essay is moving in the way that you see in your mind, but the examiner doesn't live in your mind. Examiner is looking at your writing. So use connectors. Besides, furthermore, on the other hand, however, these connectors will help to guide the examiner through, just like arrows. All right? Okay. Now, just before I go into the question and answer session, this is the last slide. I'm very happy to have been with you for 2 days and to have shared my knowledge. This is my email address based in Utah where I work. If any of you has questions or needs to reach out, you could use this method. Now I will take a few questions. Okay, just a second. Now the first question wants to know which school I'm from. I told you already just now. Nicole, you're asking about the signature for an informal letter. Well, girl, this is actually the wrong question. We actually spoke about it yesterday, but anyway, to answer your question, the signature goes on the right. Danish, you are asking me which questions do I recommend. Danish, I want you to choose the argumentative or the factual, right? Danish also wants to know, should we answer section A or section B first? Either way, it's totally fine, Danish. Just make sure you do both, right? Different students have different preference, right? Adeline, you have an interesting question. Usually, you write argumentative questions, but your teacher is advising you to write stories because the story shows your language. This is what Adeline is saying. Adeline's teacher encourages Adeline to write stories because the story can show your language. And your teacher finds that you're suitable for stories. Your teacher thinks you end up getting higher marks for stories. But Adeline, you're not so confident about your teacher's advice. All right, well, it's really your preference. I want you to enter the exam hall doing what makes you comfortable. I can totally see where your teacher is coming from. As a teacher myself, I'm able to tell, or I like to think I'm able to tell when a student shows talent in expressing, when a student shows talent in telling a story. It's like finding gold, you know, it's hard. I myself do not tell good stories. And when I have a person who can tell a story well, it's a very attractive quality. So your teacher probably picked up on that, Adeline. It's probably an attractive quality that you have, and that's good. Hold on to it. However, we're talking about an exam situation here, y'all. So in an exam, you're going to be facing stress, you're going to be facing time limits and all this. You ask yourself, within the time constraint, within the stressful environment, which is going to make you more comfortable? An argumentative essay is an equal opportunity as a story for you to earn good marks. I can say that. All right. So you ask yourself, which is going to be able to let you not freak out, and then go with that. All right, Adeline, thank you for that question. Very insightful one. Muhammad Danish again. What are the topics that you need to avoid in? What are the topics that you need to avoid in your essay? Oh, okay. Sensitive areas, is it? All right, Danish. It's a safe question to ask. I would say do not touch on religious differences between communities. I would say do not touch on political differences. For example, you know, every day there's a lot of noise around us, social media noise, noise from the TV, noise from our parents, from our friends, telling you which political party they support, which political leader they think is like this or like that. Let it be noise. And it can shape your opinions, and it's fine, you're a human being, but that usually has no place in an exam essay. All right, we keep our political opinions, or we keep other people's political opinions out of our essay. The same way we keep our preference for different races or different gender or different sexualities out of the essays, right? So that is what we consider sensitive. We don't put them in. Okay. Xuling Law, very good question. Xuling is asking, is it encouraged to produce a brief conclusion sentence at the end of each main point paragraph? Xuling, only do this if your paragraph is not long enough. If you find that your paragraph has reached around 95 words, 90 words, I suggest not doing it. Writing a concluding sentence in each body paragraph is a good technique for students who find that, oh, my paragraph is kind of empty. Then do that. But as the examples we were looking at earlier, Xuling, I think that they were packed with information. And if I had added a concluding sentence, then it would have taken my paragraph to reach around 120 words, 130 words. And if that's the case, yeah, then your entire essay is probably going to reach about 560 words. That's quite long. Okay, so again, to give you the short answer, only write a concluding sentence in each body paragraph if your body paragraph is still lacking words. Okay, next one. Sonia, is it okay? So Sonia wants to know if it's okay to write more than 6 paragraphs in the essay. Sonia, if you're writing a story or a descriptive essay, really there's no paragraph limit. Just go with whatever you want. But I think in factual essays and argumentative essays, it's not wrong to go more than 6, but there's a chance if you go more than 6 that whatever paragraphs you're doing, let's say you have a total of 8 or 9 paragraphs, there's a very high chance that each paragraph is going to be lacking important substance, you know. Each paragraph is going to be missing out some important details. I'd rather you stick to 6 paragraphs and concentrate on giving each paragraph the enough information that it needs. All right. Jahal, I often run out of time when writing the long essay. How to curb this problem? Jahal, do what I recommended earlier. Plan a frame, stick to what I said. Make sure the 4 main points, just focus on one main point. Don't over elaborate, don't overlap with other points. And stick to the time frame that I recommended earlier as well, right? Okay, and What are the current issues nowadays? Right, girl, I've given you some examples earlier, right? Bullying, COVID-19, um, online predators, social networking websites, the good and the bad. I would say also online teaching and learning, which we didn't cover today, and perhaps online shopping as well, right? Okay. Sonia asked whether it's encouraged to use slang like yo or hi or I kinda agree with the question. I kinda agree that we should ban social media. The answer, Sonia, is no. Do not use slang in your essay. Do not use words like Malaysia is a lit place to live. Or I think mobile phones are super duper awesome. Don't keep those words out. They're okay in text messages, not in your factual essays. Now, Chin En, you have a question. Argumentative essay, you want to know whether you should write pro and cons or not. That means give 3 points to support and then 1 point to disagree or something like that. Now, Chin En, as I said, that's one technique. You can do that. You can do that as pros and cons. But as I was helping you out today, I am actually giving you techniques to handle the exam questions without panicking and in good time frame. So my strategy is to pick one stand, stick with it, and support it until the end. That means don't go into the con, right? Okay. Chin En has another question. Mobile phones should be brought to school. That question. You give 3 content points to say that mobile phones are good, and then one content point to say that mobile phones are bad. And then in your conclusion, you go back to your stand to say that mobile phones are bad. Okay, Chin En, what you're doing is like just now I produced 4 paragraphs of mobile phones bad. Okay, and then now you want to say like maybe 3 paragraphs of mobile phones bad, 1 paragraph of mobile phone good. In the end, I still stress on mobile phone bad. That's another technique that you can use. Okay, it's a little complicated. If you can handle that, go ahead with it. If you find it's a bit complicated, go back to my original suggestion. 4 main points, standing on one side. Okay, Jiahao, Chin En, I hope that answers your question. Jiahao wants to know if using slang in a dialogue is okay. Jiahao, well, we're actually not writing stories in my session, in my focus point today. My focal areas were factual writing and argumentative writing. Jiahao, there's no room for any dialogue in factual writing, and there's no room for any dialogue in argumentative writing. So there's no room for slang. If you're writing a story, then you're going to have dialogue, people's words. Then fine, maybe use slang in those stories, right? Ling Chi, if you write 5 paragraphs, are you going to get less marks? No, 5 paragraphs doesn't mean less marks. But I'm worried. If your 5 paragraphs are 5 paragraphs that have a lot of elaborate, each of the main point, 5 paragraphs means you only have 3 body points, yeah? And 3 body points means lacking 1 paragraph. That means whatever you have, the elaborations must be very strong, very good examples, expansions must be very deep, must be very thoughtful. Then good, you can earn your high marks that way. But I'm recommending 6 because 4 body paragraphs, each of those body paragraphs maybe don't need to go into so much detail. All right? Okay. How to choose. Linky wants to know how to choose an essay. You have to look at what you're good at. But if you listen to my talk today, I think I would recommend you choose argumentative and or factual. Practice for the next 2 months. Okay? Right. Now, one last question from Anne. Very strange question. She wants me to go back to the task about online predators. Right, hold on, Anne. I will do this for you. Online predators. Okay, yes. What's the question? And has asked me to come back to this. Not sure why. But maybe she just wants to have a look at it again. All this, maybe a spelling error here. Sorry about that. All this will actually be uploaded. The video will actually be recorded and placed, right? You can watch the video later on. So all this is going to still be viewable in future, right? So Anne, I hope that answers your question. One last question from Linky. How many pages usually for continuous writing? Linky, 6 paragraphs, right? Usually takes you about 1 side and then the one full side of the page, of your answer page, then the next page will probably be half to 3/4 around there. Okay, all right, probably one full page and another 3/4 page. Right? Okay, where would this video be uploaded? You can check in the comments box paying. The information has been provided there. Okay, now with all that, I'm gonna close. Once again, all right. I'm gonna close by wishing you all good things in the road ahead. Once again, it's a very uncertain time, but I hope that you guys will remain calm, keep yourselves healthy during this period. Go into the exam hall knowing that you have something to say. Do not go into the exam hall for English, all right? Not talking about factual science papers or anything like that. For English, you have things to say, you have thoughts to express. Go into the exam hall knowing this and just put it out there on the paper, right? Thanks very much for spending your Sunday afternoon with me. Sure, there were a lot of other things that you could do, but thank you for choosing us. And once again, all the very best. Okay. Hopefully, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Lionel. Well, guys, the journey has come to an end. All right. So we would like to thank you on your participation. Okay. Please don't forget to take part in the feedback. To take part in the survey. Okay. Please fill out the feedback form. All right. And yeah, let me share my screen one last time. Okay, so in case you guys would like to get in touch with us, there are several platforms that you can contact us. You can go through our Facebook, Utah for You. This is where we will upload our recorded videos. Yeah, so you can reach us through our mobile numbers. You can call us. You can WhatsApp us. You can contact us through WeChat. Okay, you can even go to our study.utah.edu.my. So this website, you are able to live chat with us from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily, Monday to Sunday, except for public holiday. You can ask anything. All right. You may also drop us an email at enquiry@utah.edu.my. Yeah. So we hope that you gain as much as knowledge that has been shared to you. Okay, for the past 1 week, including today. Yeah, and we hope that you can practice it, okay, and apply during your SPM, right? So with that, we would like to thank you again, and we wish you all the best in SPM next year. Okay, please take care and stay safe. We hope to see you. All right. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us again. Bye-bye.